Board meeting to order on Monday, August 16, 2021, and ask you if you would all please rise and join the Village Board in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Bertucci. Trustee Tinaglia.
Here.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Here.
Trustee Grasse.
Here.
Trustee Scaletta. Trustee Baldino.
Here.
Trustee Canty.
Here.
Trustee LaBedz.
Here.
President Hayes.
Here. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and we do have 4 sets to approve tonight. The first is from the Committee of the Whole meeting from June 28, 2021. Are there any changes or passes? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Baldino, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from August 2nd, 2021. Any changes or passes? Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee LaBedz, seconded by Trustee Schwingbeck. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Next are the Village Board meeting minutes from the same evening, August 2nd, 2021. Any changes or passes? Seeing none.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee Canty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And finally, the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from August 9, 2021. Any changes or passes? Seeing
Move
none.
approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Schwingbeck, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next is the approval of the accounts payable, and I'd call in Trustee Baldino.
Thank you, Mayor. I move approval of the warrant register with a check date of August 15th, 2021 in the amount of $1,693,979.56.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Baldino, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Baldino.
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Yes.
Trustee Canty.
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Yes.
Trustee Grasse.
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. We move on then to citizens to be heard, and we do have one blue card from a member of the audience who wishes to address the board on an item not on the agenda, and that's Dan McMahon. Dan, if you come forward, you just reminded that we do have a 3-minute time limit, if you could try to hold yourself to that.
Absolutely. Thank you. I did not realize that I would be called up so quickly. This is my first board meeting.
That's all right. Take your time.
I just actually bought a home here recently right down the street. So I've taken a special interest in the ongoings of the city government. So I thank you all for allowing me to speak tonight. And I just had a few not really concerns, but I just want to educate myself on the processes of the government and how specifically the village budget is constructed. And I think as a whole, I just would like to have a greater understanding of how, efficiently the funds are allocated that we pay through our taxes. And the first issue that I looked into, I mean, there's obviously a lot. I read the entire 500-page 2021 annual comprehensive budget report to find the information that I was looking for. So I did do some research, and the one point of interest that struck me, and I will not deny it had a little to do with the fact that it is specifically the area of government that is under the most scrutiny right now in the national media, is the police budget, which is part of the public safety budget as far as I'm aware. And I noticed that the budget this year's budget was around $27 million. It had been decreased by about $60,000 from last year. But the 4 previous years increased by about $1 million. I did make a Freedom of Information Act request a number of weeks ago. The response was that all the information I was requesting was on the city website. And I was able to eventually find it, but what I was most concerned about as like a first issue that I would like to look at as a resident and a taxpayer in this community was the efficiency of this particular budget. And I was able to find the salaries of all the personnel, the pension plan, and how that works vaguely. And what I was not able to find was the equipment budget, how much we spend on the police department equipment every year, particularly the leases on the vehicles, if they are leased, if they're purchased. None of that is there. Yeah, so that was just the missing information that I was looking for, and I was wondering if any member of the board could enlighten me on that.
I think I appreciate the fact that you read 500 pages of that, and that you really delved into it.
It was dry.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, and I know you're right, in fact. And I think a lot of information is there if you look for it, but I know you did look for it. So, Mr. Recklouse, I don't know if you can address this information
Sure.
tonight, or if you want to get back with Mr. McMahon later.
A general comment. I'm glad that I always say that if the budget is exciting, you're doing something wrong. It should be pretty predictable. But all of our vehicles for all our departments are accounted for in our fleet fund.
Fleet fund.
And so we kind of depreciate our vehicles altogether and purchase them on a schedule, and so that's where you would find it. We do purchase our police vehicles, but the question you asked is, complex, and so FOIA, typically you ask for a FOIA request and it's just, can you produce this document? But anytime myself or any of my staff, we're happy to talk to you, in a more back and forth manner about any questions you have, and I'm happy to give you my business card. And
Absolutely,
if you want to
yeah.
give me a call this week, I can, or if I don't know the answer, someone can get back to you on any of those types of questions. We're happy to kind of talk about where the money goes. That's part of our job.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and really just the main question I had was just if there was an itemized list of all the police equipment used and what it costs per year.
Yeah, you can find that in there. There's a list of the vehicles and kind of when we're scheduling to replace them and so forth. And I can, like I said, if you want to give me a call, I'm happy to walk you
Probably
through it.
help
Some
me
of it is
find-
in accounting
find it.
ease.
There's a lot of pages.
Yeah, is in accounting ease, and so it's not always the easiest
Sure.
thing just to pick up and read. But I applaud you for doing that.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Recklouse, and I will take your card.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Mr. McMahon, and welcome to the village, to you and your family. And we thank you for your interest in the budget and other village issues. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board on an item not on the agenda? Melissa?
Melissa Kerr. The Cook County Treasurer's website now has the second installment of the property tax bill. It's due on October 1st, 2021.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the audience on an item not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll close out the citizens to be heard portion and move on to old business. And we do have two motions to report out this evening, and the first is by Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I move now, as I did earlier this evening, to recommend that the Village Board of Trustees recommend to the Liquor Commissioner the issuance of a Class B and Class T liquor license to Ma Ambe One, Inc., doing business as B&P Smoke and Spirits, located at 2316 East Rand Road, upon confirmation of floor plan.
Second.
Motion by Trustee LaBedz, seconded by Trustee Schwingbeck. Any questions or comments from the board? I'm sorry, Trustee Baldino. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations again, and good luck to you and your businesses. And we do have one other motion to report out this evening, and that's by Trustee Canty.
Thank you, President Hayes. I very excitedly move to concur in the mayor's appointment of Yolanda DeGala for the Performing Arts of Metropolis Board of Directors with a term ending August 16th, 2024.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Canty, seconded by Trustee Schwingbeck. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, Yolanda, if you just come up to the podium for just a second. I just want to introduce you to the community, since we won't be formally swearing you in, but you are a member, a representative of this village as holding a village position on the Metropolis Board of Directors. And so we very much appreciate your willingness to serve. You've been very active in the community. I know you'll do a great job in this position as well. So anything you'd like to say as a new member of the Metropolis Board?
Well, I just want to say I am very honored for this appointment and look forward to working with everyone and serving on this board and getting everybody to show up Metropolis. So thank you.
Thanks, Yolanda. We're all looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, there is no other old business, and so we'll move on in the agenda to the consent agenda. Are there any members of the board that wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? I do see a blue card from Keith Moons, who'd like to remove 2 items on the consent agenda. That's the consent appointments B and C. That's the appointment of Tom Keaney to the Fire Pension Board and the reappointment of Steve Dady to the PAM Board of Directors. So those 2 items shall be removed. Any members of the board wish to vote no or pass on any remaining item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the remaining items.
So moved.
Second.
By Trustee Baldino, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. Roll call.
Trustee Baldino,
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
Trustee Grasse,
Yes.
Trustee Canty,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Let's go ahead and take up those reappointments now. The first is reappointment of Tom Keaney to the Fire Pension Board. And Mr. Moons, why don't you come up and just ask your questions or the reason why you wanted to remove these items?
Thank you, President Hayes. Yeah, this is just kind of an education night for me here. I would like to know, why does the village have like a staff member that's appointed to the pension board? And I just was wondering, how that staff member was chosen. And I know the Fire Pension Board is a public entity because I have gone to their meetings and they ask for my opinion and put it in the minutes and so forth. It goes into closed session very quickly because they're interviewing folks, I think. But I guess I'm wondering, why is a staff member, and what is the structure of that pension board that requires a staff member to be put on that board? That's my question to you, to President Hayes.
Mr. Eckklaus?
There's multiple staff members on the pension board. We're actually appointing another one, Battalion Chief Kurt Hanselman, this evening. And then the chair is one of our fire lieutenants as well. Generally speaking, all of the members of a fire pension board, and that isn't just here, this is by state law, are someone that have a relationship to that pension. So typically you have representatives that are a retiree, you have representatives that are participants of it, and then you have, because we're the village that employs them, the village is able to appoint a couple of members that kind of help oversee those funds on behalf of the village, because ultimately the village has to foot the bill for the funding of it. And so our finance director in particular is there, and every community I've worked for has had their finance director or someone from the finance department participate, to really make sure that money is being spent in an appropriate way, and so that the village's interest as stewards of those funds can be maintained.
No, I appreciate that. I do. I see it because we have to pick up the pension we have to contribute to the pension as taxpayers.
Correct.
And so is the finance director, that is sort of a permanent?
It can change. The mayor can appoint, whomever he wants in that role, but that's typically a role that you see as someone wearing that finance hat on behalf of the village government, making sure that.
And the police pension would be the same?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and then the second one, Mr. Moons, on Steve Dady.
Yeah, this one is it looks like it's Pam night here tonight, so there's a lot of questions kind of came up to me, and actually we started talking about it in the committee, somewhat. I'm confused a bit about the structure and the setup of the PAM board? How did it get started? What are the responsibilities and the accountability of the board? And how can this not be a public meeting if we are giving them, tax dollars? And a lot of tax dollars, too, I might add, goes to the metropolis. It seems like this should be a publicly, meeting with minutes posted on the website. And, I'm a little surprised to find out the OMA does not apply to this board. Could you explain that, please?
Yeah. Well, there are bylaws, and there is an agreement that is in place that gives the village 4 appointments to the PAM board. One is the president, and then 3 other director members. And so the village does have a role in terms of providing some representatives on that board. But other than that, Mr. Reckles, do you want to go further?
No, I mean, it's similar to, we give funding to a lot of agencies. Like, for example, a couple of meetings ago at the Community Development Block Grant Program, we gave, several $100,000 out to various agencies. But the fact that they're receiving public funds from us or any other agency doesn't require them to be a public entity. The village, in order to protect our investment in the Metropolis Theater, we certainly have maintained, the ability to review their financials and make sure that those financials are being, spent in according to best practices. And that happens in the Metropolis Board kind of comes before the village board every year as part of the budget process, and there's kind of an airing of their financials, and they're very transparent with those. But in terms of their requirement to be subject to the Open Meetings Act, they just simply don't qualify. They're not a public body in the sense of as defined by the Open Meetings Act, but they are a recipient of public funds. However, if at some point the village board determined that they didn't want to provide funding to the Metropolis Theater in the future, they wouldn't cease to exist. Whereas if the village board could make the Environmental Commission or the Economic Alliance cease to exist, the village can't make the PAM board cease to exist. It's an entity separate from the village. We just are saying, as a condition of our arrangement, we want to be able to appoint X number of members, and that's the arrangement we
But it
have.
seems like we're appointing people to that board. The public should be able to attend those meetings and read their minutes.
Well, there's different matters of perspective, and there's not a legal requirement to do so. But I understand your perspective on that. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's subject to the Open Meetings Act.
Okay.
Good question, Mr. Moons. All right, any other questions from the board before we entertain motions on these reappointments? Anything else from the audience? Seeing none, do I have a motion for the reappointment of Tom Keaney to the Fire Pension Board?
So moved.
Second?
By Trustee Canty, seconded by Trustee Baldino. Roll call.
Trustee Canty?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Grasse?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. And how about a motion for reappointment of Steve Dady to the PAM Board of Directors for a term ending August 16, 2024?
So moved. Second?
By Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee Schwingbeck. Roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
Trustee Grasse?
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Canty?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. Well, congratulations to Steve and to Colleen, who is also reappointed tonight, and also to Yolanda again. So I know, and the other members of the board who are here tonight, we very much appreciate your dedication to not just the Metropolis, but to our community in general. So we're looking forward to a great season as we open up. And Steve, any announcement on current shows, or
Well, yeah, we've got four.
come up to the podium if you would.
We have 4 subscription shows. We start out with Legally Blonde. What's the next one? Lady Day. Yeah, and then there is one we can't announce, and then Shout. So we're working through that, but as I mentioned in the committee of the whole meeting, we've got scheduled shows starting in September back in the theater. We're anxious to showcase our marquee and what we've done in the theater. There's been some activity over there in the last couple of weeks, replacing some carpeting, as I've seen. It looks good. But we're really excited to be back in the theater, and we hope that you can join us in our resurgence and the reopening, as many of the theaters are doing. North Shore Center for the Performing Arts, the Goodman's opening up, Steppenwolf's opening up, and a lot of the downtown theaters, the Paramount in Aurora. So we're excited. We'll be also conforming to the CDC requirements, so we'll have some safety protocols in place, and we're looking forward to it. There was meetings on that today, as a matter of fact. So,
Right. Well, thanks, Steve. Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. And Steve, there's a soiree coming up?
and there is a soiree coming up, and that's September what? You're on the committee. I know. The 21st, 18th, something like that.
I'm sorry.
But it's similar to what we did last year, and there will be tickets to be sold and purchased, which there are a lot of. Last year it was sold out, so get your tickets early.
We have a show this year.
It's a what?
There's a show after the shopping
There's-
and eating. There's a show. It's dueling pianos.
Right. So it'll be fun. So get your tickets early.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for your dedication and perseverance through a year and a half of the pandemic, and I know we're getting through to the other side, and so very much looking forward to attending in person again.
Great. Well, thanks very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you all. All right, we move on in the agenda to new business, and there is none. So we'll go to the report of the village manager, Mr. Recklaus.
Just one item this evening, Mayor. I'm happy to present for the board's acceptance and approval the draft strategic priorities for 2022 to 2023. As we all know, every 2 years after a municipal election, the board gets together and discusses what the priorities of the village government ought to be for the next 2 years. And this is a process that happens. There are several meetings involved where each department kind of talks about their challenges and current activities and things that they foresee coming in the next couple of years, and the board ponders that along with all the information they've collected over the past several months from residents and from their own values and knowledge of what's going on. And it culminates in the retreat which we had on July 12th, and the board identified 9 themes and priorities that they would like the village government to focus on. Once approved, these 9 priorities will form the basis of what the staff calls the business plan, where we will identify actual projects with deadlines and goals and measurables that will be really driving the budget process and our schedules for the next 2 years. And so this is a very important thing that the board does, and I'm happy to read these into the record if you would like, and then we would be looking for a motion to accept these so staff can begin work on making these a reality.
Why don't you go ahead and read them, Randy, and then we'll see if there's any additional comments or questions.
Thank you. These are ranked in order of how the board ranked them in importance on July 12th. First was facilitate a balanced and continuous community and organizational post-COVID-19 recovery. Second was expand efforts to embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion within the community and the village government. Third, work to ensure the redevelopment of Arlington Park meets community standards and provides a one-of-a-kind regional destination worthy of the property's legacy. Fourth, identify, explore, and implement sustainable green initiatives. 5, ensure revenue sources are applied rationally across sectors while monitoring the overall the community tax burden. 6, ensure that the organization has the resources and training to maintain focus on consistent, high-quality core services. 7, seek opportunities to make the community more livable by increasing pedestrian and bicycle options for residents. 8, improve communications with residents and businesses. And 9, seek and maintain attainable housing while continuing to review affordable housing strategies.
Well, thanks, Randy. I would just suggest perhaps we had an even 10. And I know I mentioned this to the village manager. Perhaps we were all excited about the 9 that we did discuss that evening, but perhaps we inadvertently left off something that's very important, and that's infrastructure. And I know you potentially could incorporate that into number 6, but I just think it's such an important item for us to continue to focus on in the next 2 years, as we have for the last number of years, and I would just hate to leave it off of our strategic priorities in one form or another. And so it would be my suggestion that we add a number 10, as we did in the last 2 years, of simply saying continue with infrastructure improvement efforts. So, Trustee Canty.
I thought we did discuss that and that we were putting it lumped together in number 6.
I just, I looked at number 6 a number of times, and I just don't see how, I think they're two different, they're apples and oranges to me. So I think we need to have the word infrastructure in there somewhere.
If it pleases the board, I mean, we certainly could say for number 6, ensure that organization has the resources and training to maintain focus on consistent, high-quality core services and infrastructure, or something along those lines. I don't know if that would satisfy that, or what the rest of the board thinks.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
I'd be okay with that.
I'm good with that, yeah.
Okay.
I am also.
Okay.
I am
All right.
too.
I'm satisfied with that then.
Okay.
So read it again, Randy.
Ensure that organization has the resources and training to maintain focus on consistent, high-quality core services and infrastructure.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions or comments on those? Anything from the audience? Do we need a motion to approve these?
We'd like one just to make sure that we have it official.
Okay.
I move to approve the strategic priorities for 2022 to 2023.
Second.
A motion by Trustee Grasse, seconded by Trustee Canty. Further questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you all. Anything else from the village manager?
Nope.
Okay, other than the closed session?
Correct.
Anything from the board under other items? Petitions and communications? Seeing none, we'll go back to the village manager for request for closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. I would request that we enter into closed session per 5 ILCS 120/2C21, discussion of minutes lawfully closed, whether for the purposes of approval of the minutes or the semi-annual review of the minutes, and 5 ILCS 120/2C11, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the village has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the board finds that an action is probable or imminent.
Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
By Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. Roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Grasse?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Canty?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. We are adjourned into closed session. We will not be reporting back out. Thank you for joining us this evening.